There's no secret that the Steelers' offense struggled against the Bengals despite them getting the win. Mitch Trubisky only really came on late, only had a 2-yard touchdown pass to Najee Harris. And there's a lot of questions. Who's to blame for that? Is it Mitch Trubisky himself, or is it Matt Canada's offense? Taking a look at the film, we're going to break that down and talk about a lot more right here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm Chris Carter, joined today by Tony Serino. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Here we are on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things in the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, you can find this show on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Odyssey, and YouTube. If you're watching this video on YouTube, please hit the like button on this video if you enjoyed. Hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel to get all of our daily Monday through Friday episodes, as well as our bonus content. We thank you for making the Locked On Steelers podcast your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Now, if you don't know about LinkedIn, of course, you should know about LinkedIn. But if you're an employer looking to have LinkedIn help you, they've got LinkedIn Jobs. You can find the candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. As I said, Tony Serino is on the show today. We get to talk to Tony. He's had an exciting week.
Oh, what a week. What a weekend. What a Monday. AFC North talk was pretty fun, Chris. Pretty fun. My voice is shot today. I apologize for that.
It's totally fine. He gave me you gave me a full warning. He told me beforehand, he was like, Chris, my voice is shot. I don't know if I can do this. And I was like, Tony, I don't need your voice. I need your passion, brother.
Let's go. How about Joey regression? We're talking about Joey regression today.
Hey.
Bengals coming way back down to earth from Super Bowl the horseshoes. We almost beat Mitch Trubisky. How about them Bengals?
We'll get to that talk later.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
But I wanted to talk to you about the Steelers offense because Mitch Trubisky did not have a good day. He had a day where he survived, and because the Steelers survived, and he had a couple plays that he made that were solid, in that they didn't die. But the biggest takeaway that I had of his play was that in the toughest of moments, when the Bengals hit him in the end zone, it could have been a safety. He got the ball away for an incomplete pass, and it was thrown in the right direction, so it wasn't intentional grounding. When J.C. Hassenauer had a bad snap, he corralled the snap, rolled to his right, and fired off a pass that, sure, it wasn't complete, but it didn't cost the Steelers a turnover either, and let them pin the Bengals back a little bit more. And there were other plays, the reverse pass to the reverse flea flicker pass to Pat Freiermuth. There was pressure right in his face, but he got it off and was able to get a big completion that set up a field goal. Those type of moments, I do think that's what his veteran experience gets you, is he doesn't panic in those moments.
He doesn't, and I guess, it's just a low bar for me, though, right? I mean, it's like...
It is a low bar, yes.
The Steelers' defense got 5 turnovers, and quite honestly, they should have blown him out. I mean, like, we should not be talking about today a game where they had to squeak it out in overtime and, look at these throws that Mitch made late. And this game should have been over by halftime. It should have been certainly over in the third quarter after the 5th turnover. So, yeah, I mean, look, Mitch, you're right. The worry for me coming into the season was that Mitch was going to be a turnover machine. And that was going to be a big problem because we've talked about, hey, can Mitch be better on first and second down, but how is he going to do on money downs? Look, he wasn't great on money downs. The Steelers did not convert a third down in the entire first half. But you're right. He didn't screw it up, and it would have been pretty easy for him against the Bengals defense that matches up really well against the Steelers. I mean, this is a Steeler team that a year ago scored 20 points total against this team. Now this offense without turnover only scored 6 on Sunday, but still, you're right to say that, like, yes, a worse Mitch Trubisky would have meant a loss for the Steelers on Sunday.
And I say it partially because this was what they wanted to protect Kenny Pickett from having to deal with, things starting up, the offensive line still coming together, the playmaker, the offense needing to gel, and the timing for everything to happen. All that's going to come eventually, they hope, but you needed Mitch Trubisky. And Mike Tomlin even said at one point in his press conference on Tuesday, like, hey, like, the reason we didn't throw that ball downfield is because it was a strategy to protect the football, because we knew we could win this game if we protected the football. But I got to ask a question of Tomlin, as did Jerry Dulac of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Here's Mike Tomlin talking about Mitch Trubisky in his Tuesday press conference.
You mentioned how Mitch, stepped up in the free play.
What also, I also saw, like, the play where there was the bad snap and he kept it alive, and also a play where he was in his own end zone and he kept the play alive. How much of that comes from his veteran experience and what you saw of him show all throughout the year?
I think it's beyond experience. I think it's pedigree. He's an athletic guy, and that's one of the things that was attractive to us in him back in the spring.
Like what we talk about taking care of the football, Mitch hasn't turned the ball over in 4 games. What is that? His experience, decision making. What is it about him?
It's probably all above and then some. I mean, let's be honest here, man. I'm getting to know Mitch, and so, I think anytime he and I step into a stadium, I come out of the stadium with a deeper, more understanding of what he is and who he is as a man and a player, and it's a process, and I don't resist that process, but I don't take it for granted at the same time either. And so we're learning and growing. And so it's reasonable to expect him to be better, for me to be better with him, for us to be better with each and every passing day, and particularly those days inside.
So you get the sense of what Mike Tomlin's saying there, and it's clear. Like, one thing, I think it's a great point. He's like, I'm still getting to know this guy. That was my first game with him. So, when we're asking this is all introductory stuff, but you get the sense it's like, yeah, the reason we got him because he could be mobile when, to escape. And he did escape a few times. He even converted a first down with his legs, but also because he could handle those moments. And that's kind of why he was a first round pick before, even if he was a bust of a second overall pick.
Yeah, it's funny. You are way higher on Mitch than I am after this game, which is very funny because I was the Mitch Trubisky hype train. And I think Mitch Trubisky was horrible on Sunday, and if he doesn't get better, this team's not going to win 7 games. I mean, that if you want my true thought on like Mitch, I thought he was real bad, late on a lot of throws. His accuracy was bad. Look, this team got 5 turnovers. Teams that get 5 turnovers in the last 10 years score 35 points a game. I just I want to believe, and you're right to say that, like, it's early. There's reason to believe that this can get better, but yeah, you're way higher on Mitch than I am.
I'm not. Listen, I'm not high on Mitch. I'm just not killing him right now. Yeah, I'm like, look, you survived. You got to be a lot better in the next few weeks, or it will be like legitimately Kenny Pickett time.
Well, they're going to be Kenny Chance. I mean, the first incompletion. Yeah. I mean, and look, I watch Steeler games with my entire family, right? They were calling for Kenny in the third quarter. I mean, they were done with Mitch in the third quarter because 5 turnovers does not mean overtime squeak a win out, and this offense, look, this defense, Mitch's performance and how bad the offense was actually makes me, have more and more respect for what this defense was able to accomplish, because in an NFL where it is so easy to play offense now, and they've kind of legislated defense out of the league, to go up 100 plays against Joe Burrow in that offense and have your own offense go 3 and out 48% of the time and still hold that team to just 20 points. I mean, it is a legendary performance. It's a legendary performance by that defense, no doubt about it.
Absolutely. I was going to try to point out, I was like, Tony, isn't your Twitter name right now Magic Mitch or something like that? And then I go and see, no, he's changed it to Heel Tony because
Heel Tony.
That's
anyone
who
who watches AFC North Talk knows Heel Tony. He makes an appearance every once. Special occasion when a fan base really gets under my skin. Heel Tony has to come out and put him back in their place. And Bengals fans got put back in their place yesterday.
Man, do check out the latest AFC North episode, because that's worth the watch. But got back into this. I got a chance to look at the field a little bit more in this film. I'm not putting everything on Mitch Trubisky, but there were plenty of times that he had open guys. Even the last pass that he completed to Pat Freiermuth that got them in field goal range. Chase Claypool was so much more open with only one person in front of him, where there was 2 guys in front of Freiermuth. I really think part of this was a need to settle down. It is a high, and as big as Tomlin was like, you got to stay cool and collective, and it's just another game, and it doesn't matter who you play. You're on the road against the AFC champions. You're doing that, and maybe that got to him a little bit, and he was just focusing on just getting to the next play each time and not trying to do too much. But they need him to look more like a veteran in the coming weeks, because the Steelers' schedule, I think they have a little bit of a break the next couple weeks, but it's going to ramp up within a month.
Right, and you're not going to have 5 turnovers defensively. You're not going to have a pick six every
No.
week. Like offensively, there has to be some life, and it can't just be, look, what is the identity of this offense after 1 week? It's just kind of a, it's kind of what, a trick play, or just not trick play, but like, it's more just
A
tight
little
end screen
misdirection
and flea
here.
flicker. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's just kind of all this trickery that we're trying to beat you with. When it was kind of straight up and they needed to convert, my problem with Mitch in this game, he was always, it just felt like in an offense that is all catch and run and still short passes. I mean, again, it's still the Matt Canada stuff. It just felt like he was always a tad late. And there was that extra hitch that let a defender,
Yep.
make a break on the ball before they should have. And to me, look, yeah, Mitch is great ad-libbing, but quite honestly, in an offense like Matt Canada's, I feel like timing is actually more important. The ad-lib stuff was nice, but if he can't be on time in this offense isn't going anywhere, because that running game, I mean, Jaylen Warren had more yards after contact than he did yards. So,
Right.
That running game doesn't seem like, I mean, look, this is a bad matchup. Bengals D line is great, but that running game didn't look like it's going to get going anytime soon either.
No, I agree. It was not a great look for that. And and part of it, yeah, they got him because he could improvise in those moments, but
Right.
you're also supposed to do more than ad lib. You're supposed to do things in rhythm, and he didn't do that. And that's where I'm not going to bury Matt Canada for that, because there were times to be in rhythm and he just wasn't. And you could see, I think Chase Claypool and Deontay Johnson, in their past 2 years of working with Ben Roethlisberger, they have learned to have patience whenever Ben has struggled. And that also goes for Devlin Hodges and Mason Rudolph when those moments have come. But you could see George Pickens was not happy. I mean, you could see the frustration, like, I am getting open. We need to get the ball out. Like, do something. This is getting, like, he was getting annoyed. And it's like he might need to learn the pace of things around the Steelers. But we'll get more into that in a bit, because we do got to talk about if the Steelers can be competitive. We got some more insight into TJ Watt's injury. Yesterday's episode had Dr. Karina Maharaja on, talking about the different things. We'll dive into what we heard today and how it applies to her notes that she gave us in just a minute here. But first, we got to talk to you guys about LinkedIn.com. Of course, with LinkedIn, you're gearing up for the fall right now. And if you're a small business, LinkedIn Jobs is the best place to make it easier to find the people that you need to talk to faster and for free. You can create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network that goes or beyond, and that gets you up to 810 million people who currently use LinkedIn across the world. So be sure to go to LinkedIn.com right now to use LinkedIn Jobs. Then when you're there, if you're an employer, add your job that you're hiring for, and then add the purple hashtag hiring Frank to your LinkedIn profile, and that will spread the word out to everyone out there that you're hiring, and so that your network and beyond can see and find, like, okay, that person, this is the job that's available. I know this person that fits that great. And then you find easy candidates. And they have simple tools like screening questions that make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience, so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates that you want to talk to faster. Every week, nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, I'm Chris Carter. He's Tony Serino. Okay, Tony, let's look at this objectively now. Now, okay, with TJ Watt, the news that we got, Mike Tomlin said, and this was straight up, he's like, listen, we're in a lot better place than we were Sunday. Yeah. And that's certainly good news for the Steelers fans. I had Dr. Karina Maharaja on. If you want the full explanations for what kind of tears the pec, the pec injury could be, that's all explained in our Tuesday episode. Go back and listen to or watch that episode. She did a great job breaking it down. But the bottom line was the Steelers needed this to be a grade 1 or a grade 2 tear. It appears that it looks like it's teetering on the grade 2 tear territory, so that it looks like they expect him to be back at some point. TJ Watt tweeted out the classic Arnold Schwarzenegger quote, "I'll be back," those type of things. So it seems like there's optimism that he'll be able to play again. The Steelers are still looking for second and third doctor opinions on, to look at it to see what the actual situation is there. But it looks like if this is true, the worst that you might have here is a 4 to 6 week period where TJ Watt doesn't play. And the Steelers, and Mike Tomlin said, we're not even committed to putting him on IR right now. We're still waiting to hear what the deal is there. I think that's a very good sign, especially considering the next 4 opponents: Patriots, Browns, Jets, Bills. That Bills team looks kind of unbeatable without TJ Watt, but Patriots, Browns, and Jets, all 3 teams that didn't look too great on Sunday.
Yeah, and by the way, they beat that Bills team a year ago, so yeah. Look, it's the next 3 games. I mean, really, I think Sunday is going to kind of dictate for me, whether I'm going to get more optimistic about this team or more pessimistic, because that performance, like we talked about in the last segment, that performance defensively on Sunday was, and I know I use hyperbole as a crutch, but one of the greatest defensive performances I've ever seen in my life. I mean, and I take into a context that it's the 2022 style of offense, right? You don't shut teams out anymore, especially great teams like that. And so 100 plays, having to go out there for 100 plays and holding a team to 20 points in essentially 5 quarters. And 100 plays is really like 2.5 games for the Bengals when you consider they ran 60 plays a game last year. Can they do that again? And can they do that without TJ Watt against the Patriots? And then what is this offense going to be? Right? I mean, if this offense, look, there's reason for optimism that this offense can get better, because boy, it can't be a whole lot worse. And the Bengals are a bad matchup, but they got to get better if this team's going to really go out there and win the kind of games that I think Steeler fans are going to expect now. You beat the Bengals in Cincinnati, and I think Steeler fans are once again like, oh, division title. Hold on, can we win the division?
Right.
On the other side, for me, with the offense, boy, they got to get. I mean, you're not going to have that level of defense every single week. They're a top 5 defense again. They are a top 5 defense. But without TJ, you are going to have a fall off, because even if Malik Reed comes in and is a good player, TJ Watt is on another level. The plays that he makes are like, truly extraordinary. The back-to-back plays of, tackling Mixon essentially at the handoff point, and then the very next play leaping in the air and stealing a ball out of the air from Joe Burrow for an interception. I mean, that stuff Malik Reed's not going to do.
No.
And so how do the Steelers make up for that? I thought Tomlin's answer to that today was hilarious when they said, what kind of leadership do you need out of the rest of your guys like Cam and Minka to step up? And he said, no. We got enough leadership. I need those guys to make a couple more plays now. Right.
Right.
I thought that's perfect. Yes. I mean, that's what it's going to be, though. This defense has to step up, and they have to maintain a top 5 level even without their best player in order for this team to be where we want them to be once TJ comes back.
I agree entirely. I really think that a big part of this is finding ways. But I think this is why I think there's still reason to be confident, because there are other playmakers on this defense, and they didn't win on Sunday just because TJ Watt was out there. There were games you could say that, like the Bills game last year. I mean, TJ Watt took that game over. If he's not in that game, they don't win. And if he's not in this game, they probably don't win too. But Alex Highsmith had 3 sacks. Minka Fitzpatrick had his pick 6. Cam Hayward got busy. They were bringing guys from all over. The cornerbacks played a good game. The linebackers played a good game. Even Terrell Evans played a good game. I don't mean to diss Terrell Evans because he does. Play a good game.
Even Devin Bush, let's do the whole thing.
Right, but I'm saying, like, I went back, and the only defender I could even make a negative mark on was Robert Spillane, because he missed a tackle and then got hurt afterwards and wasn't able to really, redeem himself like most other guys did when they made mistakes. So, I look at that game and I think, like, man, like, if the defense, not just the turnovers, I'm not talking about that, like, if they can get 5 turnovers, like, that's ridiculous. But if they can play with that kind of intensity and challenge guys in, play after play and be that kind of consistent, you may not get 5 turnovers a game, but you'll get a really rough game for the opposing offense, week after week.
And to your point, right? We talk about these kind of underrated performances that aren't being talked about enough. Larry Ogunjobi in the running game.
Yeah.
This is Larry Ogunjobi came in, specialty pass rusher. That's what he is. You're not going to fix your running game. I thought he was a plus player against the run in this game, and exactly the kind of player the Steelers need. They used, how many players did they use, Chris? I think 21 players defensively. I mean, they had to, obviously run 100 plays, you're going to have to rotate a lot. But I thought, for the level, the consistency that you got out of each of those guys, like guys like Arthur Mollett, who came in and gave this team big minutes down the stretch, had the strip sack of Burrow. That's what they're going to need against a team like the Patriots. This game on Sunday, I know Steeler fans are going to think, oh, this is a cakewalk win for this team. I'm not ready to go there yet, but
nothing is a cakewalk right now. Everything has got to be earned, but it is earnable. And I think this win shows you, listen, if they show up every Sunday, like Black Air Forces, that mentality, we don't care who you are, we're coming to punch you in the mouth. I think that mentality can win you lots of games. And here's the thing is, if you maintain that mentality, especially on defense, and then offense eventually does find an identity, and not an identity that makes them one of the best offenses in the league, just an identity that says, hey, if we do these things, it'll be a good day for us. They don't even have that right now. If they can get at least that, that's where I think this team becomes competitive. And to be honest, looking around the AFC North, you and I want you to open up a little bit here, because you and I were kind of on the same page all offseason about the Bengals. Like, hey, they had a great season last year, but let's see how they build off of that success. Let's see how they actually play when people know that they're coming, when there's a target on their back week after week after week. And when you're the hunted and not the hunter, because for years, every year the Steelers are the hunted. Everyone wants to beat the Steelers because the Steelers have that reputation. This is the first year as AFC champions that the Bengals have had that, and they've started off 1-0 with 5 turnovers and looking like they, Mike Tomlin said, Jalen Warren didn't urinate down his leg, in his opener. The Bengals looked like they did in the face of the Steelers.
Absolutely, they did. Absolutely. And the storyline all off season with this Bengals team has been, and I've been saying it for a year. I mean, me and Bengals fans are no friends of one another, because I called that team out early last season and said, hold on. You can't win this way. You can't win by being an average to below average offense, but then just randomly getting big plays out of nowhere. And you just, oopsies, like we had a 70-yard touchdown, so we're a great offense. No, sorry. Like, you're not consistent, and consistent offenses is what it takes. Not just explosive offenses randomly. And I kept telling them that all year. And they just, and again, they were right, because they made the AFC Championship game, or excuse me, they were the AFC champions. But here we are, and the storyline all offseason was, where's the regression going to hit, and how hard is it going to hit? And boy, oh boy, on Sunday, did it hit pretty freaking hard. And I know that it's only one game, and Tony, it's too early to say that they've regressed. Well, it's too early to say that it's definite regression, but that's what regression looks like. Even if you want to call it a fluky win, Chris, or a fluky win for the Steelers, or a fluky loss for the Bengals. They had so many fluky wins last year. How many times in the playoffs did they win on a last-second turnover? Every single win they had in the playoffs was on a last-second turnover. Okay, and now all of a sudden this year, oopsies, you got a fluky loss. Oh, that's what regression looks like. This Bengals team, again, they want to rate Jesse Bates as if he's the best player at safety in the NFL. the next time Jesse Bates has a game as good as Minka Fitzpatrick just had, it'll be his first. Okay. Yeah. I mean, Bengals fans drive me up a wall, and it
get him, Tony.
It gives me so much joy to be able to rub this, to not only that this happened to them, but that my Steelers did it to them. The fact that Mike Tomlin was able to go out there with this team, this defense, and shove it in the Bengals' face. Nothing brings me more joy, Chris, than what happened on Sunday.
Tony's a happy camper, even if his voice is gone right now. And that's why his voice is gone, because he was in such a good mood and such a crazy mood on Sunday. But Tony, legitimately, the AFC North, the Browns eked out a win over the Carolina Panthers, got the job done, didn't look great in doing so. And the Ravens, they did what they were supposed to do in beating up on the Jets. I've said all along, the Ravens are my pick to win the division this year. I think Lamar Jackson's in a really good place. I think the offense is going to be fine. As long as that defense can stay healthy this year, they're going to be, I think, the most consistent team in the division. But I'm not just handing over second place to the Bengals. I said in the big crossover that we did between all the division players that went on the Locked On NFL channel, that I fully expect the Steelers and Bengals to be right around each other, if not tied at the end of the year, with a tiebreaker being the determining factor. Again, last year, which was the best year they've ever had, their best team ever, all this stuff, and Joe Burrow is the best ever. They finished a half game up on the Steelers. I really look at, and the way that this team is built, the Steelers, you look at the Bengals offensive line that they invested all this money into, did squat, didn't run block well, didn't pass block well, got abused, beaten. Joe Burrow was beaten up. He was making bad decisions. The secondary of the Steelers was not as victimized as people would have thought, going with the way that the Bengals receivers are touted. So Joe Mixon, not a factor. Jamar Chase, definitely a factor, one of the best receivers in the league, but wasn't able to destroy the Steelers. And T. Higgins did get hurt. I think it's still ridiculous that people say that was a cheap shot by any means. He fell into.
Should have renamed that stadium Charmin Stadium for how soft Bengals fans were after this game.
That was a crazy one. But but you still had Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd not as effective in this game. Did have one touchdown, but you look at across the board, the Steelers matched up well defensively, and the Bengals. And here's the thing: is the Bengals defense. If you're so big and bad, you're the group that tamed Patrick Mahomes in the AFC championship game, you should have been able to keep the Steelers out of the end zone completely. You should
or
have been
get
able
some turnovers, or
get some turnovers yourself.
Yeah, and then again, I said this to Bengals fans. Bengals fans got a great lesson on Sunday on the difference between good and great.
Yeah.
Jesse Bates is a good player. Logan Wilson, good player. Trey Hendrickson, good player. Okay. Cam Hayward, Minkah Fitzpatrick, and TJ Watt, these are great players. And great players make their presence felt in the biggest moments of that game. And certainly that's why the Steelers were able to win this game on Sunday, because there's a difference between good and great. And Bengals fans, you got your lesson.
Dang, look at Tony talking all that stuff right here. He wants all the smoke. We're going to be right back here in the Locked On Steelers podcast. We got more to talk about your Pittsburgh Steelers. But first, we got to talk about betonline.net. Betonline.net is your number one source for all your betting stats and sports information. You can find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, news, and of course, all the games, prop bets, and everything you need to know about NFL Week 2 action. Thursday night football is going to be crazy. It's Chiefs Chargers. I don't know about you, Tony. I'm watching that game. That's going to be some fireworks. There's going to be all sorts of prop bets for who gets yards, who get points. Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes. It's going to be a firestorm. I love it. But the best way to make money off that is to go to betonline.net, see all the odds, the ends, the ways to make money off of that. Do that by going to betonline.net, your continued source for all your sports wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in the action when you visit BetOnline, where the game starts. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, I'm your host, Chris Carter. We're here with Tony Serino from AFC North Talk. Tony, let's look at this schedule. Let's take a real hard look at this schedule and see, okay, what do the Steelers have to survive? I also want to point out, I talked a lot about TJ Watt. Mike Tomlin did say that Najee Harris went on Adam Shine's show, the Mad Dog Radio, whatever, and said, I'm playing this week. Mike Tomlin said, hold up. We got to see how he practices this week before we start committing to such things. So Mike Tomlin looks like he's having to say whoa instead of sick him to Najee Harris there, as Mike Tomlin would probably, that's one of his Tomlinisms. But again, great thing, because that's just the attitude that Najee has. But if he's back, maybe he could play. But bottom line, the Steelers have some games in front of them that I think have turned into must wins because of the TJ Watt situation. If they want to be in playoff contention later this year, it opens with the Patriots this week. At Acrisure Stadium. I almost said Heinz Field.
Heinz. It's still Heinz.
There's that. Then they're on the road against the Browns in a short week for Thursday night football. Then they're back at home against the Jets. Then they're on the road against the Bills. Those next 4 games, if TJ Watt, a miracle that he's back in 4 weeks, those are the 4 games that you're looking to miss. If they could come out of those games 3-1, this team is in a great spot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough though, because
it's tough. I'm saying it's not easy. I'm not awarding any wins to them. Every win, they have a puncher's chance to win. Every game, they have a puncher's chance to win and a puncher's chance to lose. And that's where I'm at. They cannot go into this Patriots game feeling like, oh, we just beat the Bengals, it's fine. No, They got to go in saying we still got a lot to prove out here.
If this team can come out of the next 3, because the next 3 games you're going to look at and say we just beat the Bengals on the road, how could they not beat the Patriots, Browns, and Jets? Because these are 3 very winnable football games. And if the Steelers do that, if Mike Tomlin gets this team to play to a level where they can be 4-0,
ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, then we're talking about when TJ comes back, start dreaming about playoffs, start dreaming about a division title, right? Let's start talking about January football, because beating this team, I think it's more important right now when you're without TJ Watt. Beat the teams you should beat, right? The upsets are going to be fine. The upsets are going to be fun, but much like the Browns are doing right now when they're counting the wins before they get Watson back. I mean, we Steeler fans are going to do the same thing without Watt now, right? It's like, well, how do we get to a certain record without TJ? And that starts with winning the games that you have to win. And I think really, Chris, the next 2 for me are huge, barometer games in this season. Going out at home and beating a New England team that you should beat. Now, that New England team, again, Mac Jones didn't play well. They didn't look good against the Dolphins, but you're never going to underrate a Bill Belichick team, especially against these Steelers where, I know the Steelers, they beat them what, in 2017 was the year they beat them. And then they lost to him in that game before Ben blew his elbow out. But I mean, those were different teams.
Oh no, 2018, because 2017 was the Jesse James year.
Oh, that's right. No,
and
they
then
did beat him that year too, Chris. No, they did beat him that year too.
You're right. They did beat the.
So they had bad back-to-back wins.
Yes, they're back to the last 2 times they played the Patriots in Pittsburgh. They okay.
That's right.
We're
right.
Okay. Anyways, but
to
your point.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is it's always going to be a tough test facing New England, and then that short week on the road against the Bengals.
That's not easy.
It's not an easy game because these are two
Browns.
teams that play such similar. Sorry, against the Bengals, Browns.
You did it twice.
I did. I want to play the Bengals again. I'm ready for the rematch. No, but I think that game on Thursday is these two teams are going to play so similar football, right? I mean, they're going to be defense minded. We're just trying to grind this thing out and win the ugliest games possible. And I mean, it's Jacoby Brissett versus Mitch Trubisky is going to be one of the worst football games ever played. I mean, that is going to be like a 10-6 game. For those of you who watch college, Iowa State. That's what we're about to watch on Thursday night.
3-2 by halftime.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be a baseball score.
It's ridiculous. But here's the thing: is that and the New York Jets say same sort of deal.
Dub. No, dub. That's a dub,
Dang.
Chris. Dub.
Dang.
I watch. Listen, because of AFC North Talk, I have to watch every snap of these games. I watched every snap of Jets Ravens. That is a non-serious football team in New York. They had Joe Flacco throw 58 times. And you go watch Joe Flacco throw 58 times against the Ravens defense, and you will come away thinking you want to talk about bet online, bet against the Jets every single week. That's my new strategy. That's my get rich quick scheme here.
Well, I bet against the Seahawks this week, and that bit me pretty hard.
Yeah, my wife did the same thing. I was like, I asked my wife, "You want to bet on this?" She said, "Yeah, I want to bet on the Broncos." I said, "Okay, let's bet on the Broncos," and
it didn't work.
Yikes! Yeah, it didn't work.
But point being, these next few games are essential. But I also think these are opponents that are very much along the styles of the teams that you can beat if you're the Steelers. Mac Jones, I don't anoint him as some great quarterback just yet. I think he's in a place where he still has to prove who he is. Jacoby Brissett and Joe Flacco / Zach Wilson, whatever the heck happens with Wilson, if he does return by then, who knows? I don't think he is supposed to. I think he's supposed to be out until week 5. We'll find out.
Yeah.
Those are all 3 situations where if the Steelers offense can just figure some things out in that time and they squeak out those wins. If they're 4-0 going into the Bills game, that's ridiculous. And they are playing with house money going into the Bills game. If they're 2-2, then it's like, okay, you got your other win, but now you're going to be up against it with Bills, Buccaneers, Dolphins, Eagles. Bills look like potentially the best team in the NFL. Buccaneers, with Tom Brady at any point, they could be great, even though they didn't look great against the Cowboys in their win Sunday night. Dolphins look like one of those young upstart teams. We'll see how they actually play. And the Eagles, I don't know. I don't have a read on the Eagles. I was really high on them, and then they had to eke it out against the Lions.
I do have bad news for Steeler fans about that Miami game. I will be in attendance for that one, and I have never watched the Steelers win a road game in my life. So,
but how many Steelers Dolphins games have you seen in your life?
One in Miami.
You saw it. You saw it here. Playoffs.
Steelers Dolphins. Yeah, that was in Pittsburgh. No, in Miami. I saw the game where Ben got hurt in the first half. Landry came in. Then Ben came back in the second half. And the Steelers. Remember the game where Ajayi just ran all over the Steelers? Was
this the game when Lawrence Timmons literally puked on the field?
Yes. It happened right in front of me. It was hilarious.
Oh, that's
Darius Hayward-Bates took like an 80-yard end-around touchdown to start the game.
Okay.
And that was the highlight of the whole. Yeah.
Tony, I have a simple solution. Don't go to the game.
I'm gonna go.
Yeah, okay. but in all seriousness, those games you look at, those are teams that I think are on the upswing. I think the Patriots, Browns, and Jets, those are 3 teams that are still figuring out who they are. Right. The Browns came away with a win against the Panthers, but it wasn't a win that was like they're trying to steal wins right now. Like the Steelers are going to try to steal wins, like you said, for TJ Watt. So that to me, like I said, puncher's chance. You're in there, execute. And I think the biggest thing that I took away from this last win that the Steelers had against the Bengals was that the execution was there for a lot of the key players, especially on defense. You weren't happy about Mitch Trubisky, but again, he was asked to be limited and to not make the big mistakes. I liked Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, Najee, even when he had the opportunity to make plays. Pat Freiermuth, Zach Gentry. I really think that there was across the board a lot of positives to take away from, hey, if you can just play better, if this offense can grow, there's something to be had there. The defense, though, does have to still play to a high level. The only hope that they have to take on teams like the Bills, like the Chiefs, like the Ravens, I think, even when that comes later in the season, they don't play the Ravens until December. That's
Right.
kind of a blessing, I think, for the TJ Watt situation. But their only hope to beat those type of teams is for TJ to get back to be healthy, for the defense to just be healthy, period, and for them to capitalize on those moments. But Tony, I think they're in a spot where they can fight their way to stay in the playoff race, even without TJ Watt. If it's just 4, 5, 6 weeks is the max. It really, the bye week is the max. After the bye week, they need him back.
Can they be 4-4 into the bye week? Can they get him back and he's actually healthy and ready to go? And can this offense figure it out? I mean, really, can this offense figure it out over the next 3 weeks? Because then can you random pull off another big upset against one of those 4 teams before the bye? And then, they get TJ back. I mean, they're a contender, Chris. Look, if this offense figures it out and that defense can maintain anything close to what they showed on Sunday, I'm not ruling out this team winning games in January. I mean, again, I was so impressed with what they did defensively on Sunday that, I think the sky's the limit for this team if that offense figures it out. And like you said, stay healthy defensively.
We'll certainly see if they can. We got a lot more to cover going in. But crossover Thursdays tomorrow, we're going to break it down with Locked On Patriots and see how that's going. Tony, thanks so much for joining us here in the Locked On Steelers podcast. Let people know they can find you, follow you, get more of your work.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Steeler Country, and you can find me, of course, on AFC North Talk, is a roundtable show that I do here on YouTube. Search AFC North Talk. Check out Monday's episode. Had a lot of fun. Heel Tony came out. Gave Bengals fans a little revenge on that one. And then, of course, you can check me out on my YouTube channel, Steeler Country with Tony Serino.
Do check out AFC North Talk and Steeler Country. Both. Tony is a very entertaining guy. That's why we have him here on the guest as much as we can. Thanks so much, Tony, for joining me on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Carter Critiques. Check out the Locked On Steelers podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Odyssey, and YouTube. Like the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and get all of our daily Monday through Friday episodes. We thank you for making the Locked On Steelers podcast your first listen every day. Back tomorrow, breaking down your Pittsburgh Steelers and talking some Patriots and its upcoming matchup on Crossover Thursday.